This article from Psychology Today is written by Julie L. Hall, and it is titled 7 Ways Covert Narcissist Parents Groom Children for Abuse. Kind to be cruel? Is your nice parent killing you softly? Children with overtly bullying parents learn quickly about self-defense. They read the signs of gathering rage like a fine-tuned seismograph and do what they can to brace for conflict. But what happens when a parent's guile is packaged as a smile and cruelty is delivered as kindness? Disarming the enemy. By definition, the psychological covert narcissist personality prefers passive-aggressive tactics to control, dominate, outdo, and punish others. You don't have to read The Art of War to recognize the power of disarming your enemy, and what better way to disarm someone than to pretend to be a friend? Dependent on their caregivers for physical and emotional survival, relational attachment, and identity formation, children have no choice but to return to the hand that feeds, even when it also grabs, slaps, and withholds. When a parent hides abuse and frames it as love, it is that much more difficult to recognize and even harder to call out. How covert narcissist parents groom children for abuse. Number 1. They exploit cultural assumptions. Society tells us in countless ways that all parents want the best for their children. Questioning a parent's love and loyalty flies in the face of conventional wisdom and forces us to re-examine our most fundamental beliefs about family. Covert narcissist parents rely on cultural assumptions to hide their abuse and neglect, and they gaslight their children about their behavior by leaning hard into their unimpeachable status as loving parents. Number 2. They play the paragon of virtue. It is common for a covert narcissist parent to cultivate an image in and beyond the family that he or she is caring, principled, devoted, and/or self-sacrificing, while also targeting a scapegoated child as a negative foil. Such a parent may be skilled at manipulating family members, such as an enabling partner or a golden child, as well as people in that parent's social circle, to support his or her narrative. Children in this scenario struggle with the cognitive dissonance of what they are told about that parent versus how that parent actually behaves behind closed doors. Number 3. They master the microaggression. By definition, the narcissistic personality is competitive, envious, and prone to hostile attacks. Unlike the overt narcissist's obvious one-upmanship, the covert narcissist parent uses microaggressions cloaked as an oversight, slips of the tongue, humor, help, or caring concern. For the child treated to such abuse, it is death by 1,000 cuts. Number 4. They play the innocent victim. Assuming the role of victim allows the covert narcissist parent to pivot away from responsibility and blame while garnering sympathy for all the ways other people, especially their children, disappoint, neglect, and harm them. Parents who act the victim often use guilt and pity plays to solicit attention and caretaking from their children and others beyond the family. Number 5. They operate within plausible deniability. Covertly narcissistic parents employ indirect forms of manipulation such as dismissal, redirection, minimizing, gaslighting, and triangulation. Typically, they calibrate the abuse so it is within plausible deniability if their kids or other adults question them about it. Number 6. They look good by comparison. In many narcissistic families, a covert narcissistic parent is partnered with an overtly abusive and neglectful one, allowing the covert to appear reasonable, selfless, easygoing, or otherwise good by comparison, while playing up the long-suffering martyr routine. Children have no choice but to seek out whatever caregiving they can get from the less volatile parent in the home. Number 7. They give intermittent reinforcement. Covert narcissist parents typically exert ongoing control over their children by sporadically offering forms of desperately craved validation, such as attentiveness, praise, caretaking, and gifts. This confusing push-pull dynamic keeps children in the game and coming back for more. It is common for children to continue to cling to the belief that a covertly abusive, neglectful, and abandoning narcissistic parent loves them and would never hurt them, even with ongoing ample evidence to the contrary. Groomed from infancy to accept and excuse that parents' exploitive, often cruel behavior, they blame themselves for the failures in the relationship. If there is also an overtly abusive parent in the picture, the lesser of two evils is their only option. Attached to this article, we will be talking about survival tactics, and this particular survival tactic is called the monster and the queen, or king. This playlist will be a compilation of things that we do as survivors or victims, pick your title, of ways that we survive within a narcissistic abuse family or relationship. This one pertains more so to parents. With this tactic, the monster and the queen, or king, I'm going to use my own example to explain. Growing up, my father was really angry. A lot. He was scary too. He'd rage over things like the dishwasher not being loaded the right way, or the dishcloth not being wrung out in the way he'd like. We were pretty good kids due to his scariness, so I think he had to flip over frivolous things because he needed to expel his anger. I think a big part of his anger was my mom's criticism, which I am currently coming to a full realization of. See, we are all on our own journeys, and I'm still on mine. I was anxious all the time, not just due to his rages, but because they came out of the blue, to the point I was always on edge, waiting for the next one to drop. And most of us have experienced the more traumatizing situation of you getting comfortable because a blow-up hasn't happened in a while, and it feels like as soon as you let your guard down, bam, there goes another one. And that one's even more painful or scary because you weren't clenched up in anxiety in preparation for it. All my dad had to do was yell our full name in his certain tone, and my blood would run cold, my eyes would widen, and my back would be scared straight like a stick had been shoved up my backside. I remember thinking all of the time, what did I do now? My dad put the fear of God in us kids, no doubt about it. I have a drawing that I did when I was 6 or 7 that illustrates this survival tactic beautifully. As you can see, I drew my father with an angry face and steam coming out of his ears. My mother, on the other hand, is drawn beautifully with a crown atop her head. What I'm coming to realize is that I cast my mom in the role of queen or angel because my dad, to me, was a monster, and I couldn't survive with two monsters for parents. I just couldn't. And the idea of my mother, the loving parent, that I had inflated ended up eclipsing the truth of who she was and is. She is incredibly critical. I believe some of my father's rage was due to her critical nature. My idea of her as Queen Mother was so ingrained in my mind for 38 years that when she made a covert comment about my weight in front of 2 new friends that she'd just met, I didn't even hear it. I seriously had no recollection. My friends, later that night, asked me what was up with her comment, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I honestly had not heard it. Our subconscious picks up on these things, and I believe some of us go into protective mode and don't fully hear, consciously, what's being said to us, but we still file it away deep within our hearts and minds, and it surfaces as low self-esteem, low self-worth, lacking in confidence, difficulty in confidently making decisions, and even a hyper-vigilant fear of failure. The times recently that my mom has made cutting comments, I go right to defending her in my mind. I make excuses for her. I explain away what she has said or relabel it as her loving me or that she's worried. There have been a handful of moments where I see this side of her that is nothing like the mother I remember. It's jarring and scary, like she's possessed or something. The survival tactic I'm describing is exactly that, used for survival. We as kids know we depend on our parents for anything and everything. So if one parent is outrightly abusive, how in the world can we survive a childhood with 2 abusive parents? 2. It's unfathomable. So we cast the lesser one in the role of king or queen in an attempt to grasp onto something sturdy, someone safe. My mother has questioned my decisions, my choice in spouse. She questioned me when I told her my ex was a narcissist and touted that I didn't have a degree and that she didn't like labels. I'm sorry, who just got out of a 14-year marriage of abuse? Who actually experienced it? Me. It is imperative that we look at both parents to truly seek out the reality of who our parents were and are. If you were abused by one parent and the other parent didn't do anything, that is also abuse and neglect of the worst kind. If you guys have any experiences with this, please pop them in the comments. You'll be amazed at how many people relate to your experiences. We hope you come to find that you aren't alone. Feeling alone in this kind of situation is heartbreaking. Thanks for listening.
If you have a story of narcissistic abuse or narc tactic or narc survival tactic, and you would like to share it with us in order to help others or to get advice, encouragement, or support, please send your stories to our email at outofthedark.crips@gmail.com. Until next time, we hope you are living a healthier and more life-affirming existence. And thank you for watching.